working to connect a region of over 600 new bridges between our lands.
Hello and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. I'm Alma Angeles, delivering to you the latest news in and around the ASEAN region on today's headlines. The trial of a Polish man accused of having links to Papuan separatists begins in the restive Indonesian province, with the 39-year-old facing up to life in prison if convicted. Cambodian Premier Hun Sen marked 34 years in power with a threat to step on the throat of his rivals if the EU ends trade preferences over the kingdom slide into one-party rule. Boxing champ Manny Pacquiao and Apple Diap celebrate the Filipino Heritage Night at the Clippers-Hornets game. The trial of a Polish man accused of having links to Papuan separatists begins in the restive Indonesian province, with the 39-year-old facing up to life in prison if convicted. Take a look.
Pada awalnya memang, cuman setelah kita bujuk, kita kasih pemahaman, akhirnya yang bersangkutan terdakwa Jakub ini mau hadir di persidangan.
Jakub Siripski was charged in August after meeting rebels in Papua, according to prosecutors, who said he made contact with them to spread information about their decades-long fight for independence. Siripski faces a range of charges, including a plot to overthrow the Indonesian government and joining an outlawed rebel group, according to the indictment read to the court in the remote town of Wamena. The hearing lasted about half a day, with the defense expected to formally respond to the charges next week. Prosecutors also said the Pole had met with leaders of the Free Papua Organization, or OPM, and was found with documents and video detailing the Papuan struggle for independence. Jakarta is deeply sensitive about Papua, where a low-level insurgency against the central government has simmered for years and routinely blames separatists for violence in the region. Siripski and an Indonesian co-defendant were also accused of discussing sourcing arms from Poland. Police previously said they had confiscated more than 130 rounds of ammunition from Siripski and 3 Indonesians, but that wasn't mentioned in the indictment. A conviction on some or all of the charges could mean a life sentence, according to his legal team. Papua shares a border with independent Papua New Guinea, just north of Australia. The former Dutch colony declared itself independent in 1961. Neighboring Indonesia took control of the region 2 years later, but agreed to allow a referendum on independence. About 1,000 handpicked Papuans then unanimously chose to be part of Indonesia in the UN-backed vote, which is widely considered a sham. In other news in the region, Myanmar has postponed a planned visit by the UN refugee chief to Rakhine State following renewed fighting between security forces and insurgents. UN High Commissioner for Refugees Filippo Grandi was due to visit last week, but Myanmar authorities scrapped the trip to Rakhine, where hundreds of thousands of Rohingya Muslims were driven out in a military crackdown that started in 2017. The troubled western state has seen fighting flare again in recent weeks, this time between security forces and the Arakan Army, an ethnic Rakhine armed group calling for more autonomy for the state's Rakhine Buddhist population. 13 police officers were killed by AA militants in January 4 attacks on police posts near the Bangladeshi border. Britain is expected to raise the issue at the UN Security Council later this week. According to diplomats, Myanmar's mission to the UN did not immediately respond to requests for information. Britain in December circulated a draft Security Council resolution on Myanmar that would have set a deadline for authorities to roll out a strategy for addressing the Rohingya crisis. Cambodian Premier Hun Sen marked 34 years in power with a threat to step on the throat of his rivals if the EU ends trade preferences over the kingdom's slide into one-party rule. The European Union has warned it may withdraw its tariff-free everything but arms or EBA scheme, which helps exports from Cambodia's garment sector after Hun Sen's party won all parliamentary seats in polls last year. The multi-billion-dollar garment and footwear industry provides a steady wage to hundreds of thousands of people in one of Southeast Asia's poorest countries, and its ongoing success is seen as one of Hun Sen's few remaining points of vulnerability. His Cambodian People Party, or CPP, swept the elections after the main opposition was banned from taking part, and its key figures were hit with jail sentences and legal charges or intimidated into silence. In recent months, Hun Sen has loosened his chokehold on the crippled opposition, requesting pardons for jailed opposition members and journalists in a move seen as a reaction to the EU's threat. But on Monday, a typically bombastic Hun Sen warned he would step on the throat further of the opposition if the EU followed through with its threat to pull the EBA. Meanwhile, Malacanang described as cumbersome the ongoing practice of the Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, to require applicants renewing their passports to bring their original birth certificates. Now, this following the agency's declaration that it lost passport data to its old contractor. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo made this remark as the DFA vowed to address its passport data loss after a previously outsourced printer allegedly took off with passport holders' documents when its contract was terminated. Panelo said that the submission of the old or current passport, which the applicant seeks to renew, should suffice for the purpose.
So, definitely, we will not allow any delay on the issues of passports or putting stringent requirements that will burden our people into getting their passports.
Panelo described the passport data breach as a serious and grave matter and assured that the National Privacy Commission, or NPC, is determining whether there were any violations to the Data Privacy Act 2012. Now, after the Philippines top diplomat alleged that a passport printer stole people's personal data from the DFA, no less than the country's top police officer said that the case is a national security threat. Take a listen.
Ang problema lang naman kasi dito, wala pa nga tayong initial na coordination with DFA or DFA coming from sa atin. It probably baka rini-resolve nila on their level. So hindi natin alam. So ayaw pa natin makiisaw-saw dyan. Not until the DFA will ask for our assistance dito. So we are very much willing to assist the DFA dito.
In other news, 4 persons were killed and 25 others were arrested during the first day of implementation of the Commission on Election, or COMELEC, gun ban, which has been implemented as part of security measures for the May elections.
Para maiwasan yung mga pagdadala, yung pinagbabawal, kagaya ng firearms, because effective today ay meron tayong gun ban. Ito yung mga dahilan kung bakit nagkakaroon ng mga sakitan, mga casualties, lalong-lalo sa ating mga kandidato.
The gun ban implementation started at 12:01 of January 13. It will end on June 12. During the nationwide gun ban, carrying of firearms and explosives outside the residence is prohibited, while processing of licenses for gun owners is also suspended. Only the on-duty policemen, soldiers, and other law enforcers are exempted from the gun ban, which seeks to prevent unlawful elements such as private armed groups and gun-for-hire groups from intimidating, injuring, or killing anyone during this election season. Through the conduct of checkpoints, the PNP is seeking to intercept guns, explosives, and other instruments of violence. In the Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao, meanwhile, or ARMM, where a forthcoming plebiscite for the Bangsamoro Organic Law will be held before the May 2019 elections, the PNP conducted 518 checkpoints operations, in addition to the 8 more joint checkpoints with the armed forces of the Philippines.
Titignan mo lang yung wala. here right now at Spanish Banks, one of Vancouver's popular beaches, where you get a great view of the Vancouver skyline and the North Shore Mountains. Make sure you tune in to Digital Nest every Tuesday and Thursday. I am Luquino, your EBC Canada correspondent, and I'm 1 with 25.
Hello Digital Nesters, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to watch our future features.
Subaybayan ang mas pinalakasang saganang mamamayan. Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 8 hanggang alas 9 ng umaga.
Malaysian Airlines has issued a warning to the public about fake websites which appear to be its official website, purportedly offering free fare tickets as prices in order to obtain their personal data. Take a look. The national carrier had advised customers to be cautious of social media posts and phishing websites that appear similar to its official website. A survey at the Asian Financial Forum 2019 said that Southeast Asia has eclipsed China as the region most likely to produce the best investment returns, as the ongoing trade war between Washington and Beijing puts a chill on the world's second largest economy. About 39% of respondents viewed Southeast Asia as having the best investment returns, while 35% voted for China and 16% for the U.S. The vote took place during the panel discussion, Global Investment in the New Economy in Hong Kong. However, last year, about 55% of respondents to a similar survey at the forum said China would offer the best investment returns in 2018. Figures showing the number of respondents to this year's survey were not made available. Vietnam was another hotspot identified in a recent poll of chief executives at Asia-Pacific companies by PwC. We surveyed CEOs across the region where they wanted to put their money in the next 12 months. For 2 years in a row, Vietnam has come out on top. This has much to do with what is happening around the world and that some CEOs are making adjustments to their supply chain in response to the current environment, according to Raymond Chow, Asia Pacific and Greater China Chairman at the PwC, referring to the ongoing trade war between the U.S. and China. Victor Fung Kwok King, chairman of the Fung Group and the moderator of Monday's panel, said his companies are seeking to find a new base for manufacturing outside China. Foreign direct investment flows into ASEAN, comprising 10 countries in Southeast Asia, rose to a record $137 billion in 2017. Or $137 billion in 2017 from $123 billion in 2016. 3 member states, including Vietnam, Indonesia, and Singapore, accounted for some 72% of the foreign direct investment inflows into the ASEAN, according to a report in November. In other news, Thailand is set to deploy rain-making planes to seed clouds in an effort to tackle the pall of pollution that has shrouded the capital in recent weeks. The weather modification technique involves dispersing chemicals into the air to aid cloud condensation, which should in theory result in rain. As Thais woke up Monday morning to another day of murky air blanketing its bustling construction-filled capital, environment group Greenpeace said Bangkok was currently the 10th most polluted in the world, rivaling some cities in China. Reasons for the persistent smog include combustion exhaust from Bangkok's traffic-strewn roads, the burning of fields from farmers outside the city, and pollutants from factories. But the pollution department played down the dangers of the persistent haze, which the government judges using a different set of measurements to see the concentration of harmful microscopic particles known as PM2.5. But Greenpeace's Thailand director, Tara Buakamthiri, said immediate action should be taken by the authorities, like reducing the number of cars and closing schools in high-risk areas.
using the water gun to spray water into the sky, hoping that the level of air pollution will be decreased. I think they are wrong, because it proved in China and India and anywhere else this is not a solution. Public transport in Bangkok has been quite challenging because of it's expensive. People cannot afford, so government need to think how Thailand or Bangkok building a smarter, affordable public transport system.
Indonesia is bringing in new rules requiring e-commerce sellers to share data with authorities, while also stressing that they must pay taxes, according to the Finance Ministry. Surging smartphone use and rising middle-class income in Indonesia, home to 260 million people, has made its e-commerce industry a battleground for foreign investors. Spending in the Indonesian e-commerce market is projected by consultancy McKinsey to rise from $8 billion last year to as much as $65 billion by 2022, similar to the growth trajectory experienced in China between 2010 and 2015. And the government is trying to squeeze more from a market that traditional retailers have alleged avoid taxes. From April, all operators of online marketplaces will have to detail each seller's turnover and report this to authorities, according to the ministry's tax spokesman, Hestu Yoga Saksama. The rules would apply to all online marketplace operators in Southeast Asia's largest economy, including Lazada and Tokopedia, which are both backed by Chinese e-commerce giant Alibaba, and Bukalapak, which counts China's Ant Financial among its investors. The tax department said an online seller that makes at least 4.8 billion rupiah, or $339,943 in turnover, must charge value-added tax to customers and pay this to the authorities. A seller must also pay income tax of 0.5% of turnover if it is a small or medium-sized business, or a 25% corporate tax of profit if it is big enterprise, bringing the sector into line with requirements for conventional retailers. ASEAN in Focus will be right back. Stay tuned.
What's up, everybody? Just like snow in Las Vegas being a rare thing, so are opportunities in life. So whenever they come around, seize the moment. Tune into Digital Nest on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. only on Net 25. I'm Ahmed Santos, your EBC correspondent, always one with 25. Peace!
Hello, Digital Nesters. Thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to watch our future features.
Boxing champ Manny Pacquiao and singer Apple the App celebrate Filipino Heritage Night at the Clippers-Hornets game. Alan and Eva Basilyahe is at the scene. Take a look.
Hello everyone, Eagle News coming to you from the famous Staples Center in Los Angeles, California, where the Los Angeles Clippers take on the Charlotte Hornets and host its annual event, the Filipino Heritage Night.
Basketball fans get the chance to score a free bobblehead. But for the first time in NBA history, it's a Filipino figurine which they'll be handing out. Specifically, an Apple the App bobblehead. You have the Apple the App Foundation. Could you please talk about it and also how the Filipino Heritage Night helps to support its mission?
Yeah, so check this out. History in the making, right? The first bobblehead, Apple the app from the Clippers. So when you purchase that, it gives back to the Apple the App Foundation and to build more schools and education. Right now, we have over 34 classrooms throughout Philippines, and we're looking to build more. And also, Filipinos are so creative, so I'm trying to build the creative industry in the Philippines, so we could have jobs in the Philippines and not having to leave Philippines and leave your family.
What's it like coming back and performing for this kind of crowd?
Oh, amazing. I mean, amazing. I love it because, you know, I live in LA now, and it just feels so good to be back here and performing because I feel at home with my Filipino family.
And what is it like performing with this gentleman?
Oh my gosh, amazing. I've been performing with them a lot. We just got off tour, a European tour with the Black Eyed Peas, and it was really fun and it's amazing. It's such a blessing.
Part of Filipino Heritage Night involved a friendly match between Team Apple and Team E-Man. And of course, visits by celebrities and influencers, including Philippine Senator and professional boxer Manny Pacquiao. Manny threw out shirts
With the arm! Pacquiao! With the left hand!
autographed a basketball, and greeted a famous familiar fighter. That's right, Floyd Mayweather Jr. was also at the game. Celebrating the Filipino culture, folks shared their thoughts on what makes the Philippines and her people so special.
What's your favorite part of the Filipino heritage?
The food.
The food.
I just love their passionate people. They're passionate people. You're like, you can't fake passion, you know, and just a love for sport and people, you know, integrity. So that, I mean, that means something. That resonates with me. And as a ball player, as a competitor, I just love the culture and community.
All the time you see another Filipino, you're like, oh, you're Filipino, and you feel like you're automatically family.
When we see each other, we see Filipinos, other Filipinos, we've become family already, right from the beginning. And I love how we get together so easily.
Hospitality.
Hospitality, family-oriented. We like
Karaoke.
Karaoke, community. We always find each other wherever we are in the world.
Tonight's contest saw the Clippers coming out on top, beating the Hornets 128-109. But it's really hard to say that anyone actually lost, because what we witnessed were both players and fans coming together as a single squad to celebrate the Filipino heritage.
So in a way, everybody ended up on the same team, which means everybody won. Reporting from Los Angeles, California, this is Yvonne Allen for Eagle News, and we are 1 with 25.
Thank you, Alan and Eva. Meanwhile, this park in Malaysia boasts of having its tropical cars as the most studied in the world. Let's take a look. And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Alma Angeles, always 1 with 25.